They were getting ready for the big annual bonfire at Texas A&M. They build and burn a mammoth bonfire every year for the game against the University of Texas. Tonight, they are still picking an enormous pile of logs apart in the hope that maybe a student under there is still alive. The president of Texas A&M said today there will be no bonfire this year. The only other time it has been canceled since 1909 was when President Kennedy was murdered.
22 years ago today, the Aggie bonfire collapsed, killing 12 and injuring 27 others. 22 years later, early this morning, the Bonfire Memorial Remembrance Ceremony honored those 12 lives and the dozen more injured. KRHD News reporter Brittany DeFran was there this morning and captured special moments from this year's ceremony.
In a sea of the dark morning sky, footsteps shuffle as students find their place. One Aggie looks back at the years he attended the Bonfire Remembrance ceremonies and how it shaped who he is today.
I knew the war hymn and the spirit of Aggie land, and we are the Aggies are we, but I don't think I truly understood it, until that night that I came out here.
That experience led him to organize the ceremony this year.
This past year has been a really special experience for me. It's really taught me a lot about just how deep of a meaning bonfire remembrance is and how impactful it can be.
Dylan Sione plans to continue sharing the importance for generations to come.
It's just very moving, to have kids sacrifice sleep to come out here to honor people that they probably didn't know. Says a lot about the student body as a whole.
Jordan Thielen knows all too well the sacrifices these Aggies made and is proud to make time to honor their lives.
Taking a couple hours, even if it's an hour of our time to be out here and to honor those that, we lost back in 1999 is hugely important. Kind of puts things into perspective of what's important in life, what's not.
This tradition is bringing Aggies together, uniting them in a moment as they embody the Aggie spirit.
In a sea of your fellow Aggies, and be able to look around and see that it's not just you, it's hundreds and hundreds of other Aggies that are coming together.
5 years after the collapse, the memorial was dedicated to remembering those fallen. The spirit ring surrounds the exact location the collapse took place. At Texas A&M, Brittany DeFran, KRHD News.
And the history of the Aggie bonfire dates back over 100 years to 1909. It symbolized every Aggie's burning desire to beat the University of Texas in football. Tens of thousands of people gathered to watch the burn each year. The fire burned every year starting in 1909, except for 2 years, in 1963 when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and in 1999 when the bonfire collapsed. 5 years after the collapse, the Bonfire Memorial was dedicated at the exact location of the 1999 bonfire. And the Bonfire Memorial is comprised of 3 design elements: the traditional plaza, the history walk, and the spirit ring. The plaza marks the entrance to the memorial and reflects on the activities that bring Aggies together. The history walk portrays the 90 years the bonfire burned. There are 89 granite stones that make up a timeline. Each stone has an amber light representing the glow of the fire. Finally, the spirit ring surrounds the entire site, representing the Aggie spirit, featuring 12 portals and 27 bronze inlays to represent those killed and injured in the collapse. And just days after the deadly collapse, the Aggies took the field against hated rival Texas. A&M entered the game the underdog, ranked 20th in the country, playing a 6th-ranked Texas squad. But backed by the roar of tens of thousands of Aggie faithfuls, the Ags were able to pull off the upset 20-16. And in the aftermath, Texas A&M spent nearly $300,000 in expenses related to the collapse. More than $80,000 were used to send students and administrators to victims' funerals. $40,000 of that was used to charter a plane of 125 people to a funeral in California. Each person injured in that accident also received $10,000 from the A&M Association of Former Students. And Texas A&M paid millions to families of the victims in the tragedies. In 2008, $2.1 million was paid to settle a lawsuit over the collapse. The university also prohibited students from building the bonfire on its property. The lawsuit also established that the university would be required to have engineering oversight if the bonfires were ever allowed on campus again. The last of the lawsuits associated with the bonfire collapse was settled in 2014.